Welcome to Success in Motion. Join us as we dive deep with top leaders, entrepreneurs, and professionals, uncovering strategies to grow, scale, and succeed.
Welcome back to the Success in Motion podcast. I'm your host, Alex Burho, and today we're going to be joined by Lieke Beijen, and she is an online digital coach for digital nomads and expats. So, Lieke, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, can you tell our audience a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yes, definitely. So I am from the Netherlands. I'm Dutch. So it's a little bit further away from all of you probably. And I am a coach for digital nomads and remote workers for expats. And I help them overcome a variety of challenges that they face in their lives. So that could be navigating through cultures, settling and feeling grounded as you're on the move or just move to a different country. I help them with work-life balance, stress management, all kinds of things that you can face wherever you are in the world, wherever you live, but especially with moving to different countries for digital nomads, moving to a lot of places, or for expats settling in a country and really integrating. Those challenges come up a little bit more often sometimes. So yeah, that's what I help them with.
Now, I know there's a lot of kind of competition in the online coaching space. There's a lot of people out there who are doing it. So, what do you do that either sets you apart or helps you connect better with your audience?
That is a good question. I think that's the constant search, because there are so many. Only in Holland, there are 100,000 people that are registered with the Chamber of Commerce as a coach. So it's hard to set yourself apart. And I tried doing that. My approach is very personal, even though it's online. I think coaching online, that is something that sets me apart as well, because it offers people that are Dutch in different and who live in different countries, it offers them the possibility to have a coach that travels with them and speaks their own language and understands our culture. So what they're struggling with. But I've also traveled a lot and lived remote, worked remote myself. So I also understand a lot about different cultures and how to relate to that. And for other digital nomads, or because I coach in Dutch and in English, I think being able to understand the way of living and being able to, have me travel around with you is something that, helps a lot and gives this support that people need, because it's quite hard to find a coach or a therapist. I'm not a therapist, but, someone that supports you in your mental well-being as such when you're in a different country. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, what is something that you found come a little bit easier as you've jumped into this coaching space that maybe some other people might find a little challenging?
Wow, what I found easier. What do you mean with that? That's a very broad question.
It is. Like, what have you found, your strengths are, or something that, feels a little bit more natural to you as you've, been doing this coaching and trying to reach out to these digital nomads?
Yeah, that's a good one. So, I think finding the connection. I mean, I have my approach is based on the letters of connect, and that's because I think the strength of my approach is to be able to connect, even though there's a screen in between, but to really connect and level with the people on the level of where they are, let themselves be who they are with all that they bring to the session, and create a safe space. I think that has not surprised me, but I think that's one of the things that go really well. And some people think that that is only possible in an offline setting, but especially because people are in their safe environment at home, they sometimes even feel more safe to share stuff because because of the distance with the screen and because of their own environment. And at the same time, I am very near, and I am there for them. So yeah.
That's awesome. I love how you're really focusing on building that connection, building that relationship, and
Yeah. Coaching for me is really being in the moment with someone, really sort of arriving where they are and connecting on that point, without having the expectation to go somewhere or to have to be somewhere. Because as soon as I start pulling or pushing, it doesn't flow anymore, and then it becomes my process, and it has to stay their process. Yeah.
now, when you say, your process versus their process, can you explain what you mean there and like what does that entail?
In coaching, I'm facilitating. I'm supporting someone's learning process, and I'm facilitating a space and asking the right questions and coming up with exercises for people to learn ways that get them through their challenges and get them through whatever they need to learn to get to their goals. And I think it's very important as a coach that to realize that I'm not the expert. I'm an expert in coaching, if you can call it like that. But they are the expert in their lives. So I'm there to support that and to sort of unlock their potential, in it, to be able to find what works for them. Because if I'm going to give them advice, or if I'm going to, put my opinion on them, that I don't believe that that creates sustainable change.
I like that. I like how you're putting it mainly on them to make the change, come up with the ideas rather
Yes,
than.
exactly. And of course, I'm there to, give them structure and to sort of create what's the word in English? I'm sort of holding, um, structure is not the word. Sometimes I have this with English, like there's this missing one word.
Uh-huh.
I know what I want to say. Yeah, so I'm offering support. I'm offering a structure. I'm offering, hopefully the right questions that make them reflect on themselves and figure out what they need, and that supported with some exercises and other stuff. Um, yeah, I believe everyone has their answers, and almost everyone has their own answers, and the way, it's somewhere in there. We just need to find it and find what works for you. Yeah.
So, as you're working with these digital nomads, as you're, trying to help them figure things out, what would you say are some common things that come up over and over again?
Um, I think, well, at least one of the things that's very common is, and I think that's also something from our generation, is the question like, who am I really, and what makes me happy, and where do I want to go in life? So some people come to me with a very set goal in mind, like I want to go there, and I just don't know how to reach it, or I get stuck, or I can't seem to get there. But a lot of people also, the goal is a bit more fluid, and then the goal of the coaching process is to figure out what they actually want. And I guess it evolves a bit around the work-life balance, and that's also something that I think for digital nomads specifically, but also remote workers, or expats that I coach. It's something that comes back a lot, the work-life balance. How much do I live? Do I live to work, or do I work to live? And those are questions that come up quite often. How it basically comes back to who am I, and how do I stay true to that?
Yeah. So, what's your process for kind of helping them uncover the, hey, who are you? What do you want to do?
So also that is different for everyone, because different things work differently for everyone. But I always start with like a kickoff to really explore, to not, it's to explore a bit more wider why the problem, so to call it, is a problem at that moment. Does it, is it only there in this situation, or has it been there for longer? Did it come up when you moved, or was it already there when you were in your own country, or wherever you were before? And what I really find useful with a lot of my clients is that I found out that a lot of people don't really know or really have a good view on their core values. And when you don't know what your values are and what's important to you, it's very hard to know, to yeah, what to be guided or to make decisions that are based on you and what drives you. Um, so especially with people that have this question around, well, let's call it a little bit more identity or work-life balance kind of questions, and wanting to stay true to who they are, I often start the trajectory with something based around values, based around who are you, where do you come from. Sometimes we make a lifeline. So we go through life like a sort of biography, and I help them connect that to deeper drives and values. And sometimes, people get lost or further away from those. So it gives a lot of insight, especially with lifelines, for instance, to see, okay, hey, but there I made different decisions because I thought I had to, or I felt pressure from the outside, but my drives are somewhere else. And yeah, it gives a lot of insight for people.
I love that. I love the creating a lifeline and hey, here's kind of where you've been and here's where you're at now.
Exactly, yeah. And it also creates a different perspective because we're all often so involved and so when you're in the bottle, you can't read the label. And when you draw a lifeline with someone and then it enables you to take another perspective, take that third person position, and sometimes also create different beliefs with that, because sometimes we identify with our stories so much that it's really hard to feel peace with something that has happened in the past or change some behavior or some thoughts. But when you can look at it with a different perspective, it can really help change certain beliefs about yourself or about stuff that happened in the past. Yeah. And then make different choices in the future, because that's what coaching is about. To, not only linger in the past, but especially look at what is right now and how can you do things differently in the future. Yeah.
I love that whole progress and timeline that you're going for. I love it.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks.
what would you say has been some of the biggest challenges as either you've been trying to find people or working with people? What challenges are there in this digital nomad coaching space?
So for me, I find it hardest to find new clients because I'm not a marketeer, I'm not a salesperson, but I am, I have my own business. So those are all tasks that I never had to do when I was employed in an office or something. Um, and I have a social work background, so my work has always been helping people, wanting for people to have a better life or to create something better for themselves. And that was never with, the eye on getting profit or whatever. And now when I work for myself, I also need some money. I need to pay my rent. So, and with that comes marketing your business. And with only, 100,000 coaches in the Netherlands, imagine how much it is worldwide. And I'm sort of competing with other countries as well, because I coach internationally. I think the biggest challenge is standing out and finding people or making people find me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Good. That definitely makes sense. Again, with how saturated that market is,
Yeah,
of course, that'd be a little difficult.
exactly. Yeah. But it's also what I love doing. So I'm just, I keep trying and I keep doing, and it's going well. It's going good enough.
Yeah, absolutely. So it sounds like a lot of things are really going really well for you. You have a really good process. Now, something I always love to talk about is, as we're looking towards the future, potentially, retirement, a lot of people are trying to create that passive income to either help supplement their active or even replace their active income. What have been your thoughts on this?
Oh, I've had so many thoughts on that. Yes. So that is a really good one because I too feel like, just relying on my pension. Well, as a self-employed, I don't have pension anymore. So in Holland, it's really arranged really well. When you're employed in a company, most of the times they arrange your pension. And as of like, this is the second year I'm self-employed. So yeah, I have to arrange something for myself. Um, and to be honest, I haven't had the time or I haven't taken the time to do that yet, but I have a lot of thoughts on it because, somewhere I also see myself living in Spain or in Portugal with maybe an Airbnb that I can rent out or like a house or whatever that I can, put my money into stones. But that's on the long term, I think. And a little bit closer to home for me right now is to also what I do with my coaching to translate that in maybe, e-learnings or online trainings that people can follow. Coaching is really personal and bespoke, but on certain topics, you can definitely create trainings or different programs that can support people already that are less bespoke. So that is something that I'm trying to work on this year. And that could be something that could be, how did you call it? I forgot.
Passive income, yeah.
Passive income. Yes, exactly.
I love it. Good ideas, good thoughts coming down the pipe.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
So, Lika, as we're wrapping up our interview, what exciting plans or initiatives do you have coming down the pipeline in the next, say, 6 to 12 months?
So, I mean, exciting for me is that's a good question. Well, I just had a very exciting time behind me. I lived abroad for a year and traveled. I learned all these new things, sailing, free diving, all kinds of cool stuff. And this year, I think for me, it's very exciting to settle down a little bit more and work on my business because that was my goal last year. And then I got caught up in traveling a lot. So I got distracted because I also love life. And your podcast is called Success in Motion. I think for me also success is to be able to do the things that you love while also contributing to the world, something good to the world. And so I've been trying to do that last year. But this year, I want to focus more on my coaching practice and trying to make a change with that. And then from there, we'll see. I don't really have big goals for this year yet.
Fair.
Go with
But
the
hey,
flow.
settling down and working on the business, that's exciting stuff.
Maybe it is a big goal. Yeah, now you're saying that. Oh, yeah, that is actually quite big. Yeah, it's a different goal. Maybe it's because it's different than what is typical for me. Yeah, yeah.
All right, well, Lika, thank you again so much for your time and your tips and tricks that you've shared with us today. If there's someone who wants to connect with you and talk with you a little more, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
They can always find me on LinkedIn, and I have a website. My name is super difficult to pronounce, you have no idea how you would write it, but it's www.liekebeijencoaching.nl, and I also have an English website with all my information on it. But I will share it with you. Maybe you can just edit it somewhere so people can read it because it's very difficult to read. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, well, thanks again for your time today, and we look forward to having everyone on our next episode.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, and I'll talk to you soon. Have a nice day.
You too.
Thanks for tuning into Success in Motion. Want to share your story? Visit successinmotionpodcast.com/guest to apply and be featured on the show.